that Village People video. You was probably hot as hell.
And I realized. I was like, wait a minute.
Later on, like, wait
a second.
Like,
not talking about me.
They're not trying to do none of what I was thinking about.
At all. Okay.
All right, welcome to the Sex Obviously podcast with myself, Dr. Love, and Dr. JJ, where we are going to be talking about, well, sex.
Obviously.
There you go. All right, so I think we need to talk about what brought this about. Like, what made you decide, Doc, that you wanted to do a podcast?
I think for me, I talk a lot about sex. I talk positively about sexual relationships, dynamics, vetting, things of that nature. I get a lot of questions in my inbox from friends and even some family members about, wanting to explore their sexual side, but not knowing where to start, how to actually pick a partner that is in tune with them sexually. Mm-hmm. And so I figured, fuck it. I have a lot of sex. I know some things. Yeah. Let's start this podcast. And then I have this amazing partner in you, Dr. Love, that feels similarly about sex. So why this podcast for you?
It was just another outlet for me to talk about nasty things. And that's, one of my biggest pastimes. So there's that. Seriously.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, it's his biggest pastime.
But
talking nasty.
Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm. But also, I think that there's so many technical terms and things that in my more recent exploration, I found out that are out there that made me just like, man, there's a lot to know, right? And I am a naturally curious person, but I think a lot of people are a little scared to be curious because curiosity killed the cat, which, could be good or bad. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I know I like to go on and run on sometimes, but I'm just saying.
Bring it back. Thank you.
My point
Your point, sir.
My point is people feel, I think, even like guilty for feeling curious. And so if we can have some fun, talk about some things that people might otherwise feel comfortable or uncomfortable about, make them comfortable with it, help people have a good time with one another. We can save love out here. That's what I'm about. Making sure that people love better and have happier lives. Right?
And fuck a lot.
Yeah,
that's what I'm about. I'm sorry. Let's just... Yeah, we're talking about
get
sex,
to the good
right?
stuff. That is true.
Right. So, love, relationships, all of that is naturally in it. But for me, I remember feeling like I was abnormal with like my sexual desires. You notice that, like, I don't know. I feel like I was taught that men had really, really high sex drives, right? And so for a woman to have the drive that I have, I felt very much outside of the norm. Mm-hmm. And then I found a community of women that were like, oh, wait, I'm also on that same thing. And then finding a partner that can match my drive and sometimes, what should I say? Sometimes like, has a higher drive than I do.
I don't know. Your words are yours. You can choose them all you want
sometimes
to. I don't want to be accused
has a higher drive.
Of being
it makes the experience like definitely that much more pleasurable for me. Mm-hmm. Also, like I have a lot of girlfriends. I have friends out there in the interwebs, and lots of sexual repression that I've come across, and so
yes.
More to the reason why I was like, let's just talk about it and let's talk about it on camera. Right?
Fight repression. We got to fight repression.
Totally not for the repression.
Yes.
So today's episode is about bedroom death.
That's a tough one.
Such a strong reaction, bedroom death. All right.
I mean, the two words together are just not
right.
good.
Bedroom and death should never be in the same sentence together. At all, but it is right. There is a term, bedroom death. So let's jump into it. Right, what is bedroom death for you?
So I think I've seen one actual sort of definition that said bedroom death is a couple who ends up having sex once per month or less, so 12 times a year. So there are a lot of people who I think fall into this category, at least in terms of how it's, just set up in terms of like on the averages, what numbers people say.
Wait, let's rewind that. You're saying once a month?
Yes, one time per month.
Is classified as bedroom death. You have a dead bedroom.
I think that a broader notion of it makes more sense, right? Because all of your disappointment or satisfaction with what you experience in a relationship is based on your expectations. Right. And so one person can look at one time a month and be like, I'm straight. Like, matter of fact, we can skip a month. I don't know these. You know what? Nah, these people exist. They exist. They walk
so
among us. So you mean
there's a couple in a loving, happy, healthy relationship?
Oh, you didn't have all them caveats.
No, because I want to know. Yeah. Because if you're saying people saying I'm straight, that means I'm assuming that the couple is in a loving, happy, healthy relationship, and once a month for them is good.
You know what? I'm not going to say I know these people, but there are people who have frequencies that could be as infrequent as once a month. Those two people get together, get their month days to match up, and then bam, the fourth Thursday is on. And that's
I'm
it.
making a face
Only
because
the
that
fourth
just
Thursdays they finna rock out.
It feels painful
45 minutes.
It feels very painful to hear.
It feels painful to me to say. Not really though. It made me laugh a little bit, but I'm just saying, like, for real, like that. The same way that there are people who can just keep going and going, and like the folks on the other side with a normal distribution would be like, "That's ridiculous." Yeah, they can look at those people. Yeah, they'd be like, "It's gonna fall off. It's gonna break, and your palms are gonna get hairy." One of the other things they told me all sorts of things. My point is,
my God. I would never want to have sex if that's the thing that I was told.
Oh, you never heard about your palms would grow hair?
No.
That was from masturbation, I think, right? And then like God kills a kitten or something. Like, what a vengeful God. He kills a kitten because you masturbate. I'm sorry.
No.
I went off on a tangent.
I'm just saying, heard those things.
I don't think he does it.
But let's get back to the subject at hand. Because
I don't think he does it.
If I let Dr. Love go, he'll just go, right? So let me bring it back. Talking about, so we have your definition of bedroom death. How does a couple get to that place? Say once a month is not what I'm good with.
Yeah.
How does a couple get to that place where they have a dead bedroom situation?
Well, I think it goes back to all of those caveats that you were dropping before in some ways, right? So a lot of times, especially if they started with a higher frequency, there were other things that fell off about the relationship. They don't enjoy spending quality time with one another. There's back and forth, sometimes about money and other things that just make it so that it does not feel sexy around them. And so, for some people, it's easy to feel sexy regardless of what's going on. For others, it takes a little bit more time. Like everything's got to be right, and everything's got to be emotionally lined up between you and the other person to proceed into sex, right? Mm-hmm. And then for other folks, it's like, well, sex has got to be right to proceed into those things. And so you have all sorts of reasons that this can happen, but the main one is like they just are not connecting with one another, not on a frequent physical basis like that, right? And typically it's one partner that has a lower libido than the other partner. And then you're just in a position where you have a person with a higher libido chasing the person with the lower libido being the individual that's denying. And I think resentment builds and a sense of not necessarily desperation, but almost like you give up. You're like, why keep trying, And so if you do have a high libido and you're with a person who has decided once a month is enough for me, if that's not enough for you, you're going to be disappointed frequently. And that's how dead bedrooms, at least present themselves.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I'm going to talk a little bit about my backstory. So I was married and I was with my husband, I would say all through my 20s and, halfway through my 30s. We were together for 17 and a half, almost 18 years, right? And so that's a long-term relationship, and you would think that you get through all of the like the marital hoops, like the 7-year itch, and you make it through 10 years of marriage, and like you should be good, right? You make it through those hurdles. But I found myself in a dead bedroom situation, right? I would say that my drive and my ex-husband's drive were definitely different, right? I had a higher libido, high drive. I think he had initially a libido that like tried to keep up with mine, but wasn't naturally who he was, right? Yes. He naturally...
A representative libido. Like...
Yes, that's good. He sent the representative libido. Yeah. Not just the representative in the dating and all that courting part. Yeah. The representative peen.
No, I think everybody puts their
best.
We're like,
yes, it's going to be up this many times. We good here.
People put their best foot and other items forward when they're trying to make a good impression.
He put the best peen forward. He did. I'm admit to that. He did.
Eat your Wheaties.
And I married that peen.
You did. So he did like a decent enough.
Yeah, we dated for a while before we got married, and I was like, oh, I can.
This can work.
This can work.
Right.
I can commit to this. If I'm honest in thinking about the history, right? The frequency was there, right? The quality was iffy. It was up and down, right? I mean, we had some streaks now. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, let me not lie on this man. We had some good streaks.
There you go.
We were racking up W's. Okay.
And then
there was some L's in there, but that's okay. You win some, you lose some. It's part of the game, right? This is a long relationship. We talk about almost 18 years. So it's going to be some ebbs and flows,
no, it wasn't
right?
12 years of slavery.
It wasn't going to be... Not 12 years of slavery. I'm done. Can we even... What?
Sex plantation.
What is this?
I'm just saying, like, it can't be misery the whole time, like all of the black movies that win Oscars.
And I didn't get my feet hobbled. Like, I'm good. Like, we had a good time.
Yeah, there were moments, but also
there's
that like,
there was
enduring sort of...
Yes. Yeah. So I think what happened was when the frequency and the quality started to wane, right? Other things started popping up for me in the relationship. I'm like, wait a second, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, we were doing this, we were fine, and now this is kind of becoming a little bit iffy, hit or miss, right? I'm talking about frequency of sex and quality of sex, and so all the other things that I had been chilling on started to be like, wait a minute, it's poking at me.
Sure.
So all the little, you ain't pick up your socks. You ain't even fucking me right. How dare you?
No.
How dare you not pick up your socks?
That's true.
You know? It became that. It was like, the dish is in the sink. Yeah. You ain't even blowing my back out. Why your dish in the sink? You know, it was the sex not being there. I mean, these are always his habits, right? No. His habits have not changed.
No.
But for me, once the sex changed, those habits started getting way more annoying.
No, it's like intolerable. Like you could get away.
I want to break up over the sock. Like I'm so sexually frustrated at this point. Yeah. I'm like, if you leave another sock on the floor, it's divorce, right?
Well, you think about it, like you got all of the closeness and family and like all these extra responsibilities. So there's a lot of things that can get more and more on your nerves. If you don't have good sex as a distraction from all of these things, then I promise you, like, everything else gets noticed more. If you got real good sex, let's be honest. We have seen some gentlemen who have been with some women. These gentlemen ain't smart. They ain't even really got to be that handsome.
But they're slanging them.
They put it down, and she like, I can't I can't let her. She running after this man. She's a VP at a bank. Yes, I'm talking to you, Gleneth. I just made that name up. But now I bet there's a woman named Gleneth out there right now that's strung out on some cat named Laquan that he ain't got his own house or car.
But she riding past his mama crib talking about, why you being weird to me?
Yeah, she loves
why
Laquan.
he do me like that, Miss Gladys?
Yes.
Why?
That's all I'm saying, right? And so it's one of those things that straight up makes life easier for people. And for some folks, it's like flat out necessary for like table stakes for relationships. I think most people have a level of sex expected as table stakes for a relationship. But I think for some people, mega sexuals, just to, talk about the term, right?
That in a
like
second.
There is no, like that. That's it's a foundation where you could be great in every other way. But if there's no sexual connection, none of the other connections are able to be built. I have found that, later on after I tried to put stuff together without, thinking about it, like that's how I see things. Yeah. It's how I am. If you ain't touching me, if you ain't really giving it to me, and we don't really have that connection, it's hard for me to like really like you and want to go to the movies and stuff with you and care about what you say. Like that sounds messed up.
Because it's like you to those movies, girl. If you ain't sucking this dick,
no, this sounds.
If you ain't gargling, you ain't getting no Creed 3. None.
It sounds like that.
That's what Dr. Love just said. Hold up, pause. Because I don't think y'all caught that. This dude said, I ain't finna take you to no movies, girl.
No.
I don't even like you like that if you ain't.
I'm not saying I'm not going to take you. I'm saying I'm not going to want to.
I'm going to take you. But I want to take you there.
I'm going to begrudgingly take you. Like,
take movies. You ain't
let's go see this.
Choking on it.
I'm going to grit it up watching Trolls 4.
Man. That Trolls 4.
She want candy too. Oh, I like candy. No. None. See? No, I'm just saying. I will... I'm not cheap like that. I'm a good host. But what I'm saying is, like, if the sexual connection there is not there, then is there a real connection for me? Like, that's going to make me feel like all of the other things that I need to feel in order to be engaged in the way I need to? The answer for me after much searching and thinking about who and how I am is no. I can't do it.
Yeah, so we'll dig into that a little bit because I think that speaks to our story together about how we got here and how we became a couple. So we were both married.
Yes, right? This is true.
We were both married. So we're gonna spill the tea, guys.
Yeah, lots of tea.
Come on in, sit on down.
I know,
get your wine. If you didn't see, I got my libations ready. Correct. He got a plastic cup. We're gonna get him a challenge. Don't worry about it.
Later on,
don't worry about it. He gonna get a king cup. That's who he is. We're gonna get him something fitting of the king. Okay.
Thank you.
See, I'll take it all back. See, you can't even give them a little inch. Give them a little bit. They start flexing. Anyway.
Take what I can get.
But sit on down because we're going to spill the tea. Get comfortable, right? So I said I was married, been in a relationship for almost 18 years, right? Mm-hmm. Technically.
Yeah, same thing.
Right?
Same thing.
Technically, we are on the divorce train, right?
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
Trying to get the signature in the court. But what I'll say is that my relationship, there's other things that led for the relationship to fall apart, right? But I will say the lack of sex, the bedroom death that I experienced, especially for me as a we'll talk about what kind of woman I am. But in terms of the drive that I had, right? And the terms of my needs in terms of connection with a person and how to sustain that connection, having that bedroom situation really killed it for me. Yeah. What about you? How did you... what's your experience with that?
I mean, there were a number of things, but since this show focuses on sex I will say that I was going to say, right, the lack of it itself for a person like me made it so that even though I was obligated to do the other things, they all felt like obligation. And so, and I did those.
What other things?
Oh, I mean, like you're gonna go to the events. You're gonna do. You're gonna go obviously places and do things with her and the kids as a family. You go, if there's a date, you're gonna, that type of thing, or a show, you take them, and it made it so that I just didn't want to spend time with her. Now, part of that was that the time we spent together had its own issues, but the other part of it is. Part of the reason the time we spent together had issues is because I was so resentful because we weren't having sex, right?
What do you mean weren't having sex? Because I was having sex with my husband. It wasn't great, but I was having sex. What do you mean?
We weren't having sex. We weren't having sex. Like, we did not. We would go very long periods of time with no contact, period. And so that, for me, was difficult. Now, I've always been an outgoing person. I've always been, working and traveling and doing stuff like that. So, I'm meeting people, I'm going out and everything. I don't know whether she made assumptions about what I was doing or what. I just know that between us, it had pretty much fizzled completely. And there's fizzling where you're like, hey, I want to try to revive this. But then there's fizzling where you start getting to the point where you're like, I don't even want this anymore. And then when you have that as an issue, now all of those other things that you were talking about.
Like, I don't want the relationship.
I don't even want the sex, but then I don't want the other parts of the relationship.
I don't
now
want the sex anymore. It's so bad. I don't want it.
It's just like you.
I hear that.
Well, because if you are in a position where you get rejected consistently, then that prelude to sex thing is not a positive feeling anymore.
Right.
You got all kinds of angst around it.
And it's one thing to get rejected when you're out in the streets and you're trying to like shoot your shot.
I expected
it's
that.
another thing to get rejected when you're married.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
And that shit happens.
I'm dark skinned and 5'6" and was born in the 70s. I knew I got rejected a whole lot. It happened frequently. I ate rejection. I was like, what? You ain't gonna tell me nothing. A girl told me I looked like Arnold Drummond one time. I'm good. Like
Arnold Drummond. Wow.
I had all kinds. Yeah,
okay.
I know, right? It's an old people
okay.
reference.
You just got ahead and Google Arnold Drummond. Go ahead and Google not the old man reference. Go ahead.
Look, I'm just saying, when you are not looking like a DeBarge and grew up in the 80s.
Not DeBarge.
You got rejected, right? And you got used to it as a man, built thick skin, till you found like a person that you thought, you marry a person you think like, I could win this game. I don't think any man thinks like, oh, she just gonna give it to me whenever I ask. I just think that they think they know how to make her want to get with
because
it.
You married her.
Exactly. We don't buy no game that we feel like we're gonna keep losing. Right, like
when you were getting married, you were like, okay, this is cool, right? I know that I'm gonna win this negotiation from here on out. And then what happened?
I didn't win.
You didn't win.
No,
you lost.
Didn't win. I mean, no, I lost. I mean, turns out like it's one of those things where it can just start to spiral, and it's like not having sex and not being engaged leads to like a little bit more of that person feeling more like a stranger. And so like if a person is more like a stranger than the last time you tried to engage with them, then it like makes it even less likely that you're going to engage.
Then you don't even know what to do.
So then it's just to the point that it's just like,
I don't even know you anymore. How do I even get in the game?
Right.
Because I don't know what like I would say for me, what I started doing is literally walking around butt naked in the house. This was my initiation, right? I took all my clothes off. I would parade back and forth in between, in front of him. No, he's not a video gamer. No, he wasn't over there watching the game and stuff like that where he was distracted. No, I wasn't doing all that, right? I'm out here in my glory, right? to the point where I would lay on the bed and spread wide eagle. Like, here we go. Right?
Yeah.
And guess what happened?
I don't know, but I know it would. But go ahead. I'm all ears.
He would lay down and go to sleep.
Like next to you?
Like go to sleep.
Like where he fold himself in like the corner
like
of
in
the
the corner,
eagle?
like fetal position and go to bed.
Wow.
So, listen, I will say, as a woman, I feel like people don't. I think a lot of women, in terms of sexual rejection, right?
Yeah.
It's not something we're used to a lot.
No.
Right?
Oh, you're not used to that.
And so,
nobody is.
Being married to somebody who is rejecting you sexually over and over again, then it's like, okay, I'm done. Like, then it was no initiation. There was no anything. I'm done. Like, I literally had to check in the mirror, like, wait a second, am I fine or not?
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, the boobs are still boobing. You know what I'm saying? The stuff ain't rolling. And not saying that any of the body type stuff should prevent your husband from, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, I'm looking like I've been looking. You know what I mean? I ain't doing nothing different. You bought the package here, and you was knocking it out the box, and now you got comfortable.
Yeah,
you got comfortable, and you got in a place where you felt like you didn't have to try, and me trying was annoying to you, and so you stopped giving, right? And so I'm gonna be honest, it led me to a place where I was like, okay, I can stay in this relationship and try to work on that, right? I can leave this relationship and get somebody else, or if you don't like, I can cheat.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So door number 3 was me. I turned into a serial cheater. Like, I'm not going to lie. Even though we had an open sort of option dynamic, right? I still did things that we did not negotiate.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was so unsatisfied and not touched. And being that my sex drive was high, I was like, man, you knew what you got into in the first place. Yeah. And then you decided you was going to tap out. Okay, well, I'm going to get what I need elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then we met.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think people make all kinds of agreements, right?
Right.
And it's like, but there's expectations underlying all of it. I definitely believe in unconditional love, but I believe that relationships are conditional as fuck.
Yeah.
And so you can get away with something for a long time, and the person will stomach it. And they'll just say, all right, well, I'll deal with it, or come up with ways to prioritize other things as bigger or better, especially if you tell them that. Like, if you're really good at being manipulative and you say, yeah, you know, it's just sex. Why are you thinking like that? Look, there's tons of after-school specials that would out there to tell kids just that exact thing, right? That sex is not that important. You shouldn't be preoccupied with any of this. What really matters is the core of a person, blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, people have needs, and we're grown-ups. And the fact is, you get to a place where your needs aren't being met for a long time, and then you meet a person who lines up so perfectly with you that it's almost disturbing, right? You meet a person that has your exact sort of profile in terms of the things that you like. They know how to talk to you, but also, and this is important for a person who does orient themselves to the world this way, you're sex positive and you're sex forward, and it's important to you in a way that it is important to me. So I don't have to feel like I'm convincing somebody to change their life priorities to help me meet my needs.
Right. Like no, it was just a perfect fit. I will say, when we met, right, it was just friendly sort of banter. Mm-hmm. But I feel like when we started to engage with each other, we realized that there was just so many things that I was feeling and so many things that you were feeling that were the same.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think our freak flags came out.
Yeah.
I think we knew a little bit about our freak flags before we actually met, right? So we met on social media, and in a group.
Shout out, y'all.
Shout out to the group. You know who you guys are. You did this, y'all. But we met in a group where it was just like, hey, uncensored, let it all hang. And I feel like you saw me let it out. I saw you let it out. And I was like, wait now. Yeah. And I started Facebook's diving, researching, right? And was like, oh, wait. Oh, he fine. Yeah. Oh, he has kids. Oh, there's a situation. Let me just go back to my corner. And I feel like you did the same.
No, which is interesting, right? Because I think there are a lot of people who would be like, oh, I could see a dude in this situation. Women just be shopping. And then they don't never want to give it up, right? But this is not, that ain't how life is, right? It ain't like, it turns out the comedians were wrong. The fact is, like, everybody
gave it up,
right?
Busted it wide open,
right? All these wonderful things. Now it's funny because, like, you just see that you can't confine this particular issue to one gender, and let's face it, like, you know, it's really kind of closed-minded to even think about it that way, because, you know, there's same-sex dynamics and everything else when people have it's like, a woman is not going to, well, you have people who with the same gender and they do just fine or do horribly regardless of gender. So it's one of those things where, hey, either you're going to meet the needs of the person you're with in a way that feels good for both of you and comfortable to both of you, or you're not able to do that. And I'm going to be honest, typically what's going to happen is some level of resentment, that other stuff that you weren't seeing, or even additional new things are going to build up because of the fact that needs aren't being met, whatever those needs are. And eventually, even though the love may remain, the relationships, which are conditional, end up being intolerable sometimes. Damaged, yes, but sometimes they get to the point where it's not even salvageable anymore, right? And so one person may feel from their point of view that it is salvageable. Another person is like, it's been gone for a long time. I just been here for the kids. It's all sorts of stuff that gets mixed up into all of this. But one key factor is, if you aren't able to meet the sexual needs of your partner, and you're not trying, or if your partner's not meeting yours, there's an issue there. You need to start addressing it, start thinking about the ways that you can improve, and this show is going to be there to help come up with new ways, new ideas, new toys, if you will, new other things, yes, appearances, other freaky people, elixirs, bombs, if you bath bombs, all sorts of things. Oh, well, no.
He did say it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you want to fix these issues, or you want to improve and, like, just really have, like, mind blowing, knock the cover off the ball, just straight up, flat out, drive you wild, break down the wall sex. Come to Death Row Records. No, listen to our podcast.
I didn't know where it was going. Let me introduce this one concept, right? Because I think that we are talking around an issue, right, about bedroom death, but sometimes we need to figure out, like, how people make sexual connections, right? Yeah. So for me, right, I wanna label my sexual drive as megasexuality, right? So I'm a megasexual woman.
That sounds right. Mega.
Megasexual. Be confused by hypersexual. We'll talk about hypersexual later, right? But a megasexual is and I want to read it because I want to make sure the definition is right for you people out here, right? Mm-hmm. A sexual orientation or sexual sort of desire, generally characterized by a person's lack of emotional connection to other people, unless or until they have formed a strong sexual connection with them first. So a metrosexual, right, does not form emotional connections to people unless until they have a strong sexual connection.
Right.
And so for me, right, like just thinking about all the things society telling me you're a woman, you're supposed to be emotional, and me being a person where it's like, nah, but I'm trying to get in. Like, who gonna get in these men though, right? Like,
yeah, you really thinking that?
And people telling me when I'm just get yourself together.
I'm helping.
He's not helping.
Yeah.
He's not.
Thanks, V.
That's our peanut gallery. V in the back. He gonna make an appearance a couple of times, right? He out here just shouting out ad-libs.
He out here having my back.
But for me, right, just growing up thinking that like I'm supposed to have this emotional connection, right? Sex is supposed to be connected. It's supposed to be special, right? You feel all these things to this person, and then you give your body.
Right.
But I never felt that.
Right. Yeah.
I never, like, ever felt that way. And also, like, even my male friends would be like, oh, you think about sex like a dude. You're like a man. You're so masculine when it comes about sex. But I'm like, I didn't, until I understood the term megasexual, I just thought something was wrong. I cannot sustain or make an emotional connection unless the sex happens first. For me, strong sexual connection leads to emotional connection. That's how it works for me, right? And then I didn't realize that is how I work. And so when I was picking a partner, I didn't realize, like, oh, his thing worked opposite, right? So I will say there's this other thing, talking about the opposite end.
Yeah, the spectrum.
Of the spectrum,
yes,
right?
You
have a demisexual, right? So a demisexual.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is how you're supposed to be according to the world. Like,
according to the world, everybody's demisexual, right? This is what I learned that I'm supposed to do, right? Is a sexual orientation in which an individual does not experience primary sexual attraction, right? The type of attraction that is based on immediate observable characteristics such as appearance and smell is experienced immediately after the first encounter. So a demisexual person, right, has to have this emotional connection and sustain an emotional connection, have these emotional needs met before the sexual attraction comes, right? I've got to have my feelings dealt with before I can start engaging in that physical intimacy. And for me, it's the opposite. I need to make sure you can knock the box out, right? For me. You got to knock the bottom off that thing.
New York girls
like,
be saying
can you get all the way to the back and then drop that pelvic floor? You feel me? I need that first.
You heard it here first, folks.
I'm sorry.
Pelvic floor droppage.
I got excited. I'm sorry. I'm a little hot. So I need that first before the emotional connection. And that has to be sustained in order for me to maintain my connection. And so I married somebody that was a demisexual where I got to like stroke the ego and make him feel all warm and fuzzy before he could slang. And I'm like, but you're not slanging, so I don't feel like giving you the warm and fuzzy. We just talking different languages. We're completely misaligned.
No, and that's when things go sideways.
All the way sideways.
Right, because it's just too many things to hold together at that point. You don't have at least one little milk of the poppy to keep you going along and just numb you from the other things that are happening. That's the way I used to look at sex, but now it's like, no, it's not. It's not an opiate. It's not just something that it is a legitimate need. And I think that's the thing that
I mean, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Sex is one of the base needs for people before they can go up on that hierarchy, right? And so, like, you need food, shelter, water, sexual.
See out there,
like humans, those are base human needs before they can actually think about like thinking and like being successful and all that crap, right? Like I need the bus first.
It is kind of hard sometimes to prioritize. That is true. I've seen it. I've seen that in my own life. It's difficult.
I mean, come on, you know that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I got to get it out. Now I can think. What? Oh, E equals MC squared. So it's.
Y'all,
for real though, it's like
this is who I chose.
It is. Congratulations.
Wow. All right.
Congratulations.
Can we get back to the subject here? All right.
Oh, well, yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was saying that I don't want for people who make the emotional connection as the primary sort of tether to feel like there's anything wrong with them sexually, right? I'm just saying, like, you got to know how you operate and you got to know what the needs of your partner are. Because if you are waiting for this emotional response from them at the same time that they're in a position where they aren't going to do anything until they get they're not going to feel anything until they get that physical response from you. Now you're in a position where it can be a stalemate. And at that point, you just got to decide how badly you want the relationship from either side of the whole thing. And at some point, if one person decides this is not working for me, I no longer want to be a part of this, how will you feel about the fact that you didn't really give in ways that you could to try to go in the other direction? Right. And you got to be able to make your peace. Like for me, I'm like, well, this kind of can't. But I mean, I don't feel like I was right in every way, but I don't feel any level of, God, this is not going to sound great, but I don't feel like I've lost by moving on in this situation. Just being honest. Like, and
so your divorce was not a loss for you.
There was a financial loss, a significant one. But when I think about
when I
think that's a whole other story. It was about sex, obviously, and some other things.
But I will say, like, in order to have that kind of financial loss, you gotta have the financials to have the loss, right?
I mean, you know, nothing from nothing leave nothing here. So you got to have half of something to be halfway. Yeah, so that's it. In order to be upset about it, right? You gotta have some money to lose. Yeah.
You got the assets in there. You ain't going to have no loss.
No, that's true. No, this is very true. But at the same time, like, it is, like, it's a hurtful thing to have happen. And I think that people who make connections differently, if they see to the actual needs of the person that they're connected with, they still can make things work with someone who connects opposite of them. They just have to do something that might not be completely natural.
That's what I was going to ask you. Can a demisexual and a megasexual coexist in a relationship?
I think they can if their frequencies can match. I think they actually could. I think they... No,
what's your frequency?
No, my frequency is way more constant than I think anybody would realistically think a person's comfortable frequency should be.
You are dancing, sir. So I ask you, can a demisexual and a megasexual
have sex like 5-6 times a day, like
coexist in a relationship? And you say yes, right? Yes. And so, as a self-identified megasexual man, could you be with a demisexual woman?
I mean, like I could emotionally like hit it from the back, just like, yeah, no. I feel like there are. I feel like it would be tough, right? Because
can you?
I mean, can I is like, okay, is it possible? That's what I'm saying. I feel like it is possible if like everything were perfect. And they really love the heck. See, you see, because in your mind, you're like, well, if the sex ain't right, like it could be great.
Because I'm gonna keep it real,
right? Like they might connect differently, but they also might connect well.
But I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
You megasexual man.
Oh,
can you be
I thought you
with a
meant can.
demisexual woman?
I thought you meant you like, yeah. Can you do it?
Can you do it anymore?
Can you do it? Can a person get the job done like that?
Can you do it?
Nah, son. I can't do it, son. No, I can't. I'm sorry. No, I can't do it. I cannot. I do not.
Why not though?
Because I think I have grown to a place where I don't have the patience that's necessary for that.
There it goes.
I feel like I don't have the.
There it goes.
I don't have the patience.
Same. Ditto. So I'm gonna make it easy for you. No. No, I can't. Can they exist? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can a demisexual woman and a megasexual man or vice versa coexist in a relationship? Absolutely. Can I do it personally? Absolutely not. Been there, done that, not going back. Right? Cannot.
Okay.
But just to like bring it all home for the folks, if we're going back to this idea of bedroom death.
Yeah.
Can two people come out of this dead bedroom situation towards they are able to coexist in the relationship?
I think that's completely possible, right? I think that there are different reasons that bedroom death can take place. So people can have bedroom death based on medical things. They can have based on, somebody's deployed, based on somebody got injured, based on they had, there was an issue with the relationship and everybody was mad and there was horrible fallout. Like I could see things like that you can get past. The thing may have gotten dead and then, or like medications. If you go to the Reddit threads, oh my God, there's so many people who have tried different types of medications that end up destroying their libido. And then, in a lot of ways it ends up hurting their relationships. So I think if you can address the root causes and then really start to prioritize and at least making sure that the two of you are meeting one another's needs, then absolutely I believe it can happen. But I don't think it can happen if people do not prioritize the idea of sex as important in a relationship, no matter the quality, no matter the frequency. But if they don't look at it and say that this matters based on the fact that it matters to their partner, it matters to me, those types of things, then nah. At some point, the chips will come tumbling down.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's an important point. I think prioritizing a healthy sex life, whatever that looks like to you, is the key of getting out of this dead bedroom situation, right? We'll talk about in subsequent episodes about like signaling and initiation and how that looks, right? And we'll talk a little bit about your initiation practices.
You laughing?
But I hope you guys that's all we have for you guys today. Go ahead if you had a good time and you want to be a part of the podcast, go ahead and comment below. You can don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends. We will be here because this is about sex.
Obviously.